Anime characters are quite possibly the greatest aura farmers in any form of media. But when they go OP, their auras also go bonkers. So today, I'm going over the 10 moments where a character whipped it out and smacked it directly onto the viewer's face. Their aura, that is. Let's go! Hikaru Garo, reluctant Poison Clan assassin and even more reluctant marriage hunter, finally goes toe-to-toe with Toshiro Dogo, the Beastmaster who mutates his own body into a monstrous feral form to end the fight for good. Up until that point, Garo had struggled a bit and taken noticeable damage, but pretty much the second he decides to lock in, Dogo didn't stand a chance. Garo legit just keeps slicing and dicing at all his grotesque beast creatures in ways that are only complemented by how gorgeous the animation is for the whole battle. Real kicker is when Dogo decides to go all out and transform into whatever the hell this is, and in response, Garo just outspeeds him, sliding all over his body like he's Minato fighting Obito, and hits him with his clan's poison blood stage, finally finishing him off.
それが毒使いの神髄。
エルブラスフロース7のフリューゼルカルデネイヤ。
When Zeo Thorzeus Rainbolt, the Magiavander's lightning-fast war god, swoops in and yanks Will right away, as Alferia is about to welcome him into her faction, Alferia doesn't take it well. What starts as a tense standoff turns into a full-blown magical duel between two of the most powerful mages alive. Ice versus lightning, right in the middle of an opening ceremony. Frankly, it's hard to keep track of which one of the two has more aura during the fight because they just keep one-upping each other every time you think it can't get more insane. Alferia summons a fortress of ice and a bunch of clones to launch elite-tier spells all at the same time. Zeo comes out unharmed and keeps attacking. Alferia reveals her real body's up above, setting up an even more explosive spell this whole time. Zeo tanks that too and pulls out his weapon, Lightning Strike, to start shredding her apart. Then Alferia goes even further, pulling out one of her secret spells to trap and flash freeze Zeo, except he survives that as well, then invoking Prime Magic alongside Alferia to take their fight up to a whole new level. Regardless of the fight's conclusion, both combatants walk away with levels of clout few others can claim. In a world where magic is as simple as drawing the right shapes with the right ink, Coco is a young and infinitely curious girl fascinated with the power she's become involved with. Unfortunately for her, a faction of evil witches is keeping tabs on her, and during a visit to a shopping district with her fellow witch apprentices, Coco gets pulled into a pocket dimension as a test from these witches. The test in question, surviving an honest-to-God dragon. Lucky for them, right when it looks like they're about to end up as lizard food despite Coco's best efforts, their teacher shows up. And if you were wondering if this appearance means he's as aura-rich as Gojo, the answer is a resounding yes. Within mere seconds, Kifri breaks into the pocket dimension, saves his apprentices, and whips up a magic spell that conjures a golden water dragon that dwarfs the real one, crushing it with the most explosive display in magic in the entire anime up to that point. From the gorgeous visuals, to the effortlessness he does it with, to the sheer scale of power he's just revealed that he has, the whole scene is breathtaking. Just don't ask why the water was yellow.
お前らにとっては帰ってよかったと言えるかもしれない。なぜなら。
The Uchiha clan in Naruto are easily the most broken humans around, because those of them who rise above the rest, awaken Mangekyo Sharingan, can somehow manifest skyscraper-sized spectral soldiers to fight on their behalf. Well, they're not all that big, but the one belonging to Madara Uchiha certainly is, and he makes sure to use its intimidation factor to the maximum. Case in point, his showdown among the 5 Kage in the middle of the 4th Great Shinobi War.
そんな山が切れてる。
これが内浜だな。
Mind you, at this point in the battle, Madara was already wiping the floor with the 5 highest-ranked shinobi in the entirety of the elemental nations on his own. The best they could do was push him back a little, and when they started yapping about how 5-1 isn't unfair at all considering his power, he agrees. In fact, he doubles down on that, creating enough clones to outnumber them 5-1 instead. At that point, they're already a sneeze away from crapping themselves, but what Madara says next definitely fills up an Ohonoko's diaper.
そいつら分身がスサノオを使う使わないどちらがいいギャラクシーインパクト
Garp storms Blackbeard's island of Hachinosu to rescue his student Kobe, and after gradually strolling into a war zone like it's nothing, he unleashes his Galaxy Impact, a single Haki-infused punch that levels a huge chunk of the island in one hit. There's not much else to say because Garp's fist kinda did all the talking for this entry. One Piece is always known for pulling off some crazy power scaling, like one old man dying while still standing, but this took it to the next level. Buff old men in anime stay aura farming. Hopefully that trope never dies out.
やべえじじいが来た。
If you've ever wanted to see an anime-ified John Wick, Sakamoto Days could scratch that itch just fine, following the misadventures of the retired greatest hitman in the business, capable of switching between fat and fit forms at the drop of a hat. Oh yeah, because superpowers are a thing in this show, and nobody bothers addressing that for most of it. However, that just makes it all the more insane when somebody starts putting belt to ass with nothing with raw skill and experience, which is exactly what old man Takamura does to the JCC attackers. Slur and Gaku are completely tearing through the JCC headquarters before splitting up to go their own ways. Then, when Gaku's ripping through everyone, Takamura comes stumbling out of the dark end of a hallway, eyes closed and head tilted down. And what follows is a moment of clarity for the attackers, where they realize just how screwed they are. Because not only does Takamura parry Gaku's attack with his sword sheath, he then speed blitzes him, slices his fingers off, and slices Gaku's weapon in half by sheathing his own. Once his next slash literally blows up the entire floor, even Gaku starts running like a chump. A gang of marauders tries to raid the cleaner's headquarters to snatch Rudo after learning he's carrying a spherite, and Simu, the receptionist and team front leader, steps outside to beat the brakes off of every single one of them without breaking a sweat. Mind you, the first thing she does is dodge and redirect a freaking RPG back at the Marauders, followed by dancing through a hail of bullets at speeds that Neo, the Matrix MC, himself would shit himself if he saw. I don't know how she could walk around without a jacket because that woman's cold.
アウラ、お前の前にいるのは1000年以上生きた魔法使いだ。
One of the strongest demons of her race, Aura, the guillotine scales of obedience, lets her force anyone with less mana than her to submit completely, and she's never lost it using it, until she runs into free rim. Of course, she doesn't realize that until it happens because to her, there's nobody alive who could possibly have more mana than a demon who's lived and grown her reserves for 500 years, right?
アウラ、自害しろ。
Yeah, well, as Friedrin wastes no time in pointing out, there's always a bigger fish, because as it happens, she's been suppressing her mana like her human mentor taught her to do during their time together, a trick that's used for the sole purpose of tricking cocky and dangerous individuals like demons and lulling them into a false sense of security before obliterating them. The most important part of that, though, this happened 1,000 years ago. Friedrin's twice the mage Aura is and ever will be, and she's got the mana reserves to back that up, bringing Aura completely and inescapably under her control.
おいでリカ全部だ式神の完全権限
どういう理屈だ
Four of the strongest players in JJK's culling games are locked in an intense standoff at the Sendai colony, none of them willing to make the first move until Yuta Okotsu shows up and kills one of them damn near instantly. One single high school student goes up against two of the strongest cursed energy users of the past dozen centuries and a literal curse that matches their power level, and Yuta comes out of it the winner.
リカ
硬い
From the insane movement tech he displays during the initial showdown against Kuroroshi, to the resilience on display when he goes straight into battling Uro after beating the Roach, to the sheer aura of every single exchange between him and Ryu, Yuta's forced to go all gas, no brakes pedal to the metal for the whole battle, and he does exactly that. The three-way domain expansion right before Kuroroshi interrupts it, hard. The hand-to-hand combat between him and Ryu, exquisite. And that other beam clash between the two that looks like something out of DBZ, otherworldly. Of course, it helps that Studio Mappa are the GOATs themselves and made the whole battle the highlight of the season. Grammy Thuramo is, at least conceptually, the single most broken Sternritter in the Quincy army that invades Soul Society in the 1,000 Years Blood War arc, because his special ability is literally just manifesting anything he imagines. The power of turning imagination into reality. Used correctly, that literally just means the user is God. Unfortunately, Grammy's a dumbass.
言ったでしょ切っても無駄だってしまった
In his battle against Kenpachi Zaraki, the Squad 11 captain just continuously cuts through everything Grammy throws at him, no matter how ridiculous or literally impossible it may be. Now, at one point, Grammy hits him with the Void of Space, and Kenpachi just cuts through it. It's the kind of unbelievable BS power scaling you'd normally see in a DC or Marvel's comic, and their non-canon runs, which is where Grammy's fatal failure comes in. Kenpachi literally hoes him so hard and so thoroughly that he subconsciously comes to believe Kenpachi is unbeatable. So, not realizing that he's introduced a logic error into his own power, he tries to imagine himself as strong enough to beat Kenpachi and causes himself to implode instead. All while Kenpachi stands in the air, smoke wafting off his body as he looks down at Grammy in disappointment. That right there is my captain.